My mother, my sister, and I decided to take a vacation to Washington, D.C. this summer. And in the past, vacations haven't always gone according to plans, so I thought, why not film this one to show some of the issues that could go potentially wrong, or things that could go right. In the past, my wheelchair has ended up broken, a reservation's gotten canceled, or there's been areas that I couldn't access that we didn't research beforehand. It took a lot of planning with a disability involved. You just got to think through a lot more things. For example, this trip has been planned since February, and we took it in June. My mother and I knew that we wanted to try and take the train because we've never done that before. And when doing our research on their website for the Amtrak, we realized that I could get on the train in my wheelchair and sit in the wheelchair the entire way, which makes things a lot easier than freaking flying across the country, because I hate flying. And finding out that they have handicap accessible bathrooms and all that was really cool as well. Now when you're loading back into the train at the bigger stations, look for what's called the red cap service. They are dressed in all red, and they are there to help you load on and off the train, which is wonderful. It was fantastic for me to get on the train and know that I didn't have to worry about where my equipment was, if anything was breaking. It did take me like 10 minutes to get off the train when we got to Union Station, because we had to wait on the lift to get there, and then I kept getting stuck in between the compartments and the ramp, so that's why it's taking me so long to get off the train. But I wanted to show that because I'm sitting here communicating with the conductor, being like, I'm getting my armrest stuck. Can you lower this? But it's nowhere near the amount of time that I've had to wait at an airport or a plane to get me off, and nowhere near as complicated. In the past, hotels have told me, yeah, we've got you a room, and then we get there and they've screwed it up or canceled it or double booked the room. We needed a hotel close to the train station. We wanted one that was very close to the train station because we would be walking. The thing is, I had to call them to actually book the room, because you can't book their accessible rooms online, which actually makes it easier to know that you're actually going to get an ADA room. This hotel room was extremely nice. My mom describes it more than I do.
So a lot of good points to this room. This is a really spacious hotel room. Probably one of the most spacious hotel rooms I've ever stayed in. It has a king-size bed on this side and 2 twins on this side. This is the bathroom. Ignore the tracks in the floor. That's just where Caroline's wheelchair has been. One of the issues with this room, notice that this door is shutting on its own. So every time Caroline has to go to the bathroom, somebody has to stand here and hold it, or else it'll close on her. Bars, bench, hanging shower head, toilet with bars, sink that you can roll right up under.
It also had a walk-in closet area where I parked my wheelchair, which made it easier to turn my wheelchair around in the room. And it had a peephole as well on the door, which, if you don't know what that is, there's usually a lower peephole that makes it easier for people in wheelchairs to see through the door.
As you can see, that is quite high. We call this chair the Transformer. Some people have suggested we should call it a Decepticon. And then it has one more trick. Or, you want to give your mama a hug. So this is the way she has to get in the hotel here at the Harrington, the elevator, and she's the only person that can ride it. And so you have to go all the way around here to this ramp, which is quite long. So here we go. And if you were a disabled person who had to walk or use a different type of mobility device, this could be a nightmare. And there's your entrance. It says, does that not say handicap accessible? The one that everybody's using? Is there a button? Push the button. Let's make sure it works.
Hey, it works.
After a very brief security check, which Caroline went through no problems, we are moving on through the gallery.
Some of the art pieces you're gonna see were just fascinating. Like you turn around in one room and you see the piece of Joan of Arc. So very worth the time to come to this museum. They also had installation exhibits, and one of them you're gonna see is actually ramped so that I could actually get onto the dance floor exhibit, which I was very surprised and happy to see. But I enjoyed this museum immensely. So if you're ever like wanting to pick a museum but you don't know if an art museum is going to be enjoyable, I promise you this is probably a good move to make. It's the inconsideration of people, I think, over the next few segments is going to amaze you.
Try to get to one of the exhibits. Notice how those people just walked in front of her. They haven't even looked at her. And she's trying to maneuver. She's trying to maneuver. She's waiting. Now she's finally getting up there. Watch your toes.
lady. I'm telling you, she runs over with your toes. You're gonna know it.
I mean, I am in a 450-pound freaking wheelchair, and these people are just walking around it like they don't even know it exists. And I'm like, excuse me, do you want a broken foot? I did not enjoy it as much as I could have because there were just so many people like being oblivious to the fact that I was right in front of them. And yes, even though my chair stands up, I felt like it was unsafe to lengthen the chair and stand up because people were not watching where they were going, and I could easily have hurt a child or an adult, and then I would have looked like the villain.
Just right in front of her. Didn't look, didn't care. There's one noticed. Yay. Good for you, you noticed.
The amount of people, I cannot put into words what it felt like. I mean, growing up, like my dad would always get frustrated having to push me through places, and I could never understand why. Now I know why. Because people are just oblivious, and I think that's part of why I'm making this film, is people are oblivious, don't get it, and they need to start understanding it. That we are people too, and we deserve to be able to look at different exhibits and stuff as well. This guy literally walks into my control panel and almost gets hit between the legs because he is such an oblivious idiot. You know, and he walks right in front of me, so he knows that I'm there.
It's funny that some of the greatest impediments to access are people. They do all the things they can to make the museum where she can get around, but look at these people, totally not looking. And when they do clear paths to the sides, it's not towards any of the displays, so that she can actually see anything. So we found us a little place in this rainforest exhibit, and we've been sitting here for probably 15 minutes because we just became so overwhelmed.
People have knocked into my back wheels countless times. People have bumped into me and then apologized. And then, like, there was one parent that stopped her kids from walking into me and said, "Excuse me, I'm so sorry for my kids."
Yeah, the one boy cut in front of you twice. Once going across this way and once coming back, and both times she was like, "What are you doing?"
Let's go inside. Please do not touch the butterflies inside of the pavilion. Although they can land on you. They can land anywhere on your person. But again, do not try to touch them in any means or manner.
Alright guys, thank you for coming today. With the exception of you, of course, I'm going to have you all spin around in the mirror, and we are going to check shoes and bags. Let me just walk around you, see if we got any butterflies on you. Let me see. I'm not seeing anything, pardon me. Right? Anything?
Throughout this whole 4 or 5 day trip, we did a lot of walking, or my mom and my sister did. I was in my wheelchair, of course, rolling, but it was very flat. It was very nice. I mean, there's a few sidewalks where there's a few bricks missing, and you just kind of have to swerve around them. The weather was really nice, if a little hot, and so it was nice to
Smithsonian's.
walk from place to place and know that you had access to a lot of things.
The entrance is completely accessible. The exit is also accessible. Out front there are some steps, but that's not the way you come in. If you are disabled, there's a little entrance, and it looks like that back sidewalk also will go up through here so that you can get to this, because it is from the building side edge here. You can't get to it. It's kind of a raised, but I believe pretty phenomenal.
There's a balcony where you can see all of the museum buildings across the parkway area on this balcony, but you cannot get out the door onto the balcony. The door is locked. Even though it says it's supposed to be an accessible door, it is not. And that's sort of what my life is like. There is a better view right in front of my face, a better way of enjoying life, but I have no access to it.
So this is the elevator in the Hirshhorn. And you can see she pulls all the way in as far as she can to the wall. But you can see when it closes, that's how much space there is between her wheels in the back. And she is literally to her toes pushed up to the wall.
Serve yourself sushi from these plates on this conveyor belt, and this robot is supposed to bring you your food and drinks and everything. And you're supposed to order from a screen. Well, the screen is too high for me to reach, so I cannot order anything for myself. And the plates are super hard to remove from the conveyor if you have muscle issues. And the robot doesn't work half the time. All in all, this trip was great. And the ride home went very smoothly. And this trip costs about like $2,000. The biggest thing was food. You're gonna run about $50 per meal in DC. If you want to travel and have a vacation on a budget and with a wheelchair involved, you can pull it off.